Welcome to Flight 33. This one was an interesting one. On the night before, there was a bunch of hype about really good conditions, but on the drive, I was seeing a lot of clouds. And we get up to the top, and there is a ton of clouds. And me and Peter were the only two pilots that ended up actually staying at Crestline. Everyone else went back down to Marshalls because they were so worried that it wasn't going to clear up and open up enough to even safely fly. But as we can start to see here, the clouds did start to move out. It was a highly dynamic cloud day. Visibility was shifting constantly. But as I'm walking out here doing my hang check, visibility is totally flyable now. I can see all the way down the launch. What you saw in those first few shots, I couldn't even see the launch to the landing all the way through, and so that is just not what you want to be taking off into. But here we see nice sunny blue sky, no worries. The biggest thing honestly I'm worrying about now is just lift, because with all these clouds there's not going to be a ton of good lift in general, because you're basically blocking all the thermals, because you're not letting any of the sun's energy get down to the ground to heat it up and start making some lift happen. But since the air is starting to clear, I know the lift might be building eventually. So there's hope in my heart, but we'll see what happens here. It's definitely not like my last flight here where I just shot up to the moon basically and was just launching around, no problem, easy peasy. Not the case today, but really fun to fly near some clouds. And that's kind of a bigger theme we'll see in about 10 minutes.
My face almost is cold out here. My face is cold, bruh. It's chilly out here. Not a lot of lift we had.
So here's a little section of lift I started to get. I basically got nothing on the ridge. I just got forced all the way down here already. This is usually, well, I guess not usually, but the last time I was here, this was kind of like, all right, the day's over, we're down here. This is where I'm already at. This is just how this is going. I'm starting to get a little bump of lift here, so I'm starting to think, okay, maybe I could work it back up. There's a possibility of a big save and going back up to the ridge now, but it's not fantastic, so I'm going to have to work at it. And as we can see from the altitude chart, this one ends up just not working out. Really cool to see the silo thing from this perspective. I didn't spend a lot of time here on my last flight from Crestline, so it was cool to check this area out, but just didn't get the lift. The thermal core seemed to be really tight of what I was catching, and I do think it was a thermal core here. There is a chance for some mechanical lift just looking at this terrain, but the sun's starting to hit this pretty good. I think I was basically just getting weak thermic lift, and that's why it wasn't working out super good. But I wanted to try it a little bit before I completely bailed, and I got something out of it, so that was kind of cool to see, but it wasn't amazing or anything like that.
Talking there. That looks pretty chill. Those power lines, obviously.
So I'm just cruising out now. In my head right now, the flight could easily be over. There's nothing that says that I'm gonna get lift over here. I see one or two paragliders getting some lift. None of the other hang gliders have launched, including Peter up on Crestline behind me. So I'm like, why is he waiting? Maybe I should have waited since the sun is starting to come out now. I'm just cruising out here. I'm lower than last time that I came through here, but I was extremely high, it turns out, in hindsight. I just had a great flight last time and was like, oh, I'm getting low, but I wasn't actually that low.
There's a glimpse of the LZ. Looking good on approach there. Man, that PG is ripping it out there. Huh.
So I start to see a paraglider doing pretty good here. I'm starting to notice some turbulent air, which is a great sign right now, because I just flew through some pretty laminar air. I wasn't getting a lot of lift, but now I'm feeling some turbulence, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? There could be some lift here, and time to start exploring, because if the air is turbulent, that means air is moving probably up and down in places, not just side to side. And so I just start poking around a little bit, seeing what I can find, seeing if I can find what's making this turbulence, because I'm seeing a paraglider farther down the ridge getting some lift. I'm starting to look at the shape of these clouds a little bit different and being like, okay, there might be actually some thermal action to be had out here. Let's see what we can do. I'm pretty low, but not super low, you know, 500-600 feet off the ground, 3,100 feet total. I got an easy path to the landing zone. So I got all the room in the world to mess around. I can get down to 100 feet here and probably fly out and be totally fine.
Oh, great landing out here, man. Looks like annoying retrieve, but it's nice being alone in a way. Don't mean like less guys of where to go, but Just worrying about the turns is pretty fun.
So I'm just commenting, it's kind of nice being alone. You don't get that visualization of other people, which helps a lot, but not having to worry about anyone is super nice. And so that last flight that I had off of Eliminator, tons of paragliders, constantly thinking about it, but out here, it's just me and some hawks. And I'm starting to get some lift now, which means I don't even need other people to necessarily see where the lift is because I'm figuring it out on my own, which is awesome. And this flight really surprised me overall. I didn't think this was going to be a long one because of the clouds. And then I just start to find this pocket and it turns into a pretty great flight.
Oh, Fiji ripping out there, dog. No other hang gliders in the air. Don't know what they're up to. I'm just kind of chilling in this thermal, to be honest, dude. Couple hawks down there hitting it as well. Heck, they're right below. Challenge myself and switch directions of the
So I started to see 2 hawks here. I tried to pick them up on the 360 camera for you guys, but they're pretty hard to spot through the camera. But with the human eye, I could see them really well. And seeing them kind of circling below me was a fantastic sign. That pumped me up a ton because I was like, okay, not only am I getting lift right now, I'm seeing some birds in the same exact place as me. That's a fantastic sign.
Hey, this is working great, dude. This thing's just getting stronger the higher I go up. Heck yeah. Oh, there's some HPs on launch. Nice. Feel them into the air. Yeah, hawks are coming up for sure. Love that beeping. Let's go. Man, I was ready to call this flight done too. Love to see that. I mean, yeah, those paragliders are ripping it as well. We're probably in the same type of action. Yeah, there's the hawks. Cloud level is kind of my next concern, to be honest. Just because this lift is like so nice right now. Oh, there's a hawk. Yeah, I'm gonna get away from this cloud here.
So 2 really interesting things happening right now. First off, that flyby of the hawk, one of the 2 hawks I'd been circling with this whole time. Amazing. Secondly, take a look at that lift graph. I am getting increasingly good lift, and obviously I don't have this graph in flight. It's much easier seeing it after the fact. But that's wild to see. It's almost an exponential curve. And that is something that is a completely new experience for me and was kind of terrifying because I've seen so many videos and just, I've never been in it. This is the closest I've been to it, I think. I don't even know if this was actually the case, but let me know. I think I was starting to experience some pretty intense cloud suck. And I don't know how else to explain what was happening. The biggest thing I'm curious about is, I don't know if it was actually going to be a problem. I don't know if these clouds would have actually swallowed me up or if it would have been unescapable. Also, really hard to gauge how close to the bottom I was. I've heard, well, not even I've heard. I know the number. I'm going to throw it up if I mess it up, but it's 300 feet, I think, below a cloud, or maybe it's 1,000 feet below a cloud. You're supposed to stay away. I'm not sure what I was getting to here, and it was honestly getting terrifying in the air. Looking back at the video now, I'm like, dude, that didn't look scary at all. But just thinking about in the air, it's going through my head of like, the reality of how scary it would be to be in a whiteout is just absolutely terrifying. It's really hard to put into words, to be honest, because until it actually happens with the camera, I don't think it would be apparent, to be honest, unless you're up there. But just the thought of being completely engulfed by cloud, completely blinded, potentially in more turbulent air, terrifying. And so like I was like, this lift is too good to be true. I'm gonna bail out, get to a safe spot, get away from the bottom of this cloud, play it safe. No reason to be risking it today. And that's what I ended up going for. I think it was the right call. And I mean, as we can see, I'm able to get lift back eventually once I go back to those same spots where I was getting good lift. And I'm really curious to hear, if you're an experienced pilot, if you thought I was too close to the cloud or if I'm just being overly cautious and I could have gotten even closer, you know, keep on riding that good lift. Let me know. This was recorded on January 17th, 2025. I don't know if there's a way to historically look up the cloud base, but I don't know what cloud base was at. I mean, if I knew the altitude value of cloud base, obviously pretty easy to look up, I think, as far as if I was actually at cloud base or how far away I was, but again, I don't know.
Radio check, this is Lowrider.
I swear I heard the mic getting keyed by someone else. And actually, it turns out people are on a totally different channel than I thought at this site. So no one heard me when I did a little check. But I figured I'd send out the bat signal, see who was out there.
Yeah, I got spooked there, man. That was pretty terrifying for a sec. That cloud was not looking very friendly. Man, it is cold on my face. It's like balaclava type weather. Really curious what the air temp is right now, but it's got to be chillier than 50, it feels like. My Peter is experiencing about the same action as me out there.
You can see I kind of moved back to my same area and I'm getting great lift again. So I'm glad that I got away from the bottom of that cloud. It did feel dangerous at the time. Much better to just play it safe, in my opinion. And still being able to get lift,
Still kind of reeling from
absolutely
that cloud
fantastic.
situation, to be honest.
And I'm just still kind of in shock about how terrifying being underneath that cloud was. So I'm constantly looking up now, just thinking about, am I getting sucked into it? What's going on? Should I be worried? What's the situation here?
My lips are freezing, dude. It's definitely the coldest air I've ever flown in by far. Yeah, there's definitely some serious pull from these clouds right above me. A little scary, to be honest. A little scary. Definitely don't love flying right below a cloud, I gotta be real.
I'm still reeling. And if you look at the actual timestamp in the flight, you know, it's been minutes, 10 minutes since I was sucked by the cloud. And I'm still reeling from that situation. It's not fun to fly into the cloud when you think you're going to be sucked into a cloud. And so this whole time I've just been looking up. I'm kind of putzing around, getting some lifts, moving around a little bit, but just constantly living in fear of these dang clouds. And so interesting how much that affected me. I think it was rational fear, but if it wasn't, I'm really curious to hear from the experienced pilots who are watching. Was this a rational fear? I don't know.
So scared of getting swallowed into this thing. Peter. Or the paraglider. Come on! Come on! Come on! Yeah! $5,000, let's go!
So I'm cruising towards 5,000 and I'm super stoked on that. Launch was about at 5,260 feet, and so I'm a little bit below that, but hitting 5,000, I was extremely pumped, and I'm at the point again where I'm like, okay, what do I do at this altitude? I don't want to get close to these clouds, so I definitely don't want to keep climbing. Where should I go? And I'm just like, okay, I guess we'll fly back towards Marshall's launch, because I've never flown from this direction towards Marshall launch. And it's kind of becoming a theme with this flight and Flight 32 off the Eliminator of just kind of exploring around with altitude. Not one of the days where I feel like I'm going to cross country, but I definitely can poke around a little bit. And so interesting to be able to explore around with that. And so let's go for it. Let's see what happens. Let's go towards Marshall's. So right there, we see Marshall's. I see the hang gliders that we drove up with that didn't launch from Crestline, and they're still out in the air, and I'm actually not sure why, and it's kind of confusing to me.
Dude, that is a car. That's crazy.
And there's this wrecked car. It looks like someone just drove it off the road like last month. I don't know how long it's been there. If you've seen it before, let me know, but that blew my mind. Maybe shout out to the Forest Service, because there's just a wrecked car like right there, and it's kind of wild, to be totally honest.
Yo! Yeah, there's some planes not too far off, dog.
Really cool being above Marshall's here. This was really fun. This was like another vindicating moment of, I'm the dude above launch. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, what's going on? Maybe I'm starting to figure this thing out. So really cool to be above pilots that could have launched at a different spot. I made it down safely, got some great lift, and now I'm above their launch site. Like, that's a willy move in my opinion, dude. Like, I'm getting there, and it's awesome.
What's up, Marshalls?
Cool to see paraglider flying around. I'm actually really curious still why the hang gliders took so long to launch. Got me thinking in my head more of like, the cloud suck must be terrifying. That's why they're not launching. But I think they were just kind of hanging out, which is totally fine. And it's just so cool to fly above here. Throw out a shot that Sandy got, the van driver from the bottom. Or I guess I should say at Marshall's, she took this photo. So really cool to see that. And thanks for the photo, Sandy.
Too fun. Too fun. Feet lower, it makes quite a difference in perspective. Wow, that's fun. I'm glad I did that little journey.
And so now I'm just traversing back along this ridge line. I know that I didn't get great lift above Marshall, so I don't really want to hang out there. I think the clouds look beautiful right now with the way the sun's hitting them. Turned out to be a fantastic day to fly, getting the greens from the sun hitting them as well. And just traversing along this ridge, absolutely beautiful. Just really cool to take this all in. Already I have, a 30-minute flight under my belt, and then coming in for this sweet.
Oh my goodness. That's a fun passage to do. Wow. Oh, this is fun. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, so flying through the ridge, amazing. I really want a wingsuit whenever I do stuff like that, because I feel like that's all it is. But just glad that the hang glider gives you that extra time to enjoy moments like that. Just flying lower through terrain, it's obviously more danger, but it is so much more fun. And this isn't a recommendation to go fly low to the ground, but in situations like that where I'm clearly not going to hit it and there's like a safe area on the other side, it is so fun to just fly right over that ridge and check that stuff out. So this section is really interesting. As we can see, I'm not getting a ton of lift, but I'm not losing a ton of lift either. And so I was just doing a bunch of turns over this area really low, and it was really, really fun to just fly low over this ridge, keep on getting those nice fun ground passes, but also get a little bit of lift. And then also, more importantly, just the added security of having that nice long sloping ridge down to the landing zone where I don't have to worry about getting low. I can just kind of cruise out to the landing zone and be fine. And then also, this is totally legit bailout in my mind up here. I'm sure the retrieve would be annoying driving up this road, but people can get up there, and it's just, it looks like great landing everywhere below me, so I'm kind of emboldened to just continue to really scratch it out here, because I know I can safely land up here, and I can just safely glide out to that legit landing zone if I need to.
Oh, that's some great lift over here. Vida!
So I've been grinding out here for a while now, and then again, it's just super fun, bopping around. Just love flying here, to be totally honest. It would have been cool to be higher and fly somewhere else, but I think it was equally cool, if not even more fun, to just fly around here. And finally, I get some eyes on Peter. So I knew that he had launched. I'd seen a glimpse of him before, but I tried to find it on the 360 camera. I just couldn't pick him up. I could see it with the naked eye, but couldn't pick it up on the camera. And so now we got Peter joining the fray, and that's super fun because I get to see where he's getting some lift, he sees where I'm getting some lift, and just, it's nice to have a buddy back in the air. It's like traveling solo is fun for a while, but traveling with friends is fun for longer. And some really fun passes here low to the ridge.
Oh, that's fun.
So that one was really fun to fly like underneath Peter, doing that low ridge pass, absolutely a blast. Again, that nice safe landing zone flying through the notch in the ridge, amazing feeling, super, super fun.
Sick. It's too fun being low to the ground, man. Why? Why do the dangerous things have to be so fun? fun.
So I'm just kind of barely maintaining here, dropping down slowly. I'm maintaining in a sense of I'm staying about the same level above ground, but I'm slowly working my way down this canyon, which is really fun. Definitely getting some lift, but not booming out of here. And just kind of basically biding my time until I know that I'm gonna have to call this flight a day. But absolute blast, and just really fun to check out this area again at this altitude, because I've never been here in the 200 to 300 foot range. I've just blasted over here at like 600-700 feet or more. So really fun to check this section out and explore these little ridges, see what I could find.
Yo! That's gnarly. That is gnarly. So cool.
Eventually I find a paraglider getting some lift, and I'm like, all right, like he's doing this. Landing zone's right there, the training hilltop's right there. Just mess around with this. You know, we got some good altitude to mess around with. Not like tons, but plenty to fool around with. And so really nice to have this paraglider flying with me, seeing where he's getting lift, figuring out where I'm getting lift, and we see a nice little bump coming up here on the altitude graph. And so this is a great, just kind of fun, chill, like first experience flying with somebody today, and just really nice and relaxing, honestly. There's a few times where I'm like, which way is he turning? And then I'm like, it doesn't matter, I can just turn out of this, do my own thing. This was a nice, fun little bump around and get some lift, extend this flight even longer, get closer to the hour mark of a flight that I thought was probably going to be a sled ride. Me and Peter were almost sure at the top of this flight that it was going to be a sled ride out of Crestline. On the drive up, hopes were super low on everyone in the van. We're just like, man, it's cloudy. You know, we believed a little bit too much in the forecast on this one. But this turned out to be a great flight. And Peter actually even had a way better flight. It was his first time on the topless glider, so a glider without a king post. It basically just looks like a nice flat wing on the top. And he had a great flight. He was traversing back and forth, you know, just flexing with that massive glide ratio. Really cool to see for him. Super happy for him on that. And I think I had a great day as well. So just super thankful for this flight as every other one.
Man, lift is like the coolest thing. Man, I remember the first time I ever flew this glider was right there. That's pretty wild. Huh.
So eventually all good things must come to an end. I'm just like, it's been good. I could maybe scratch this out for another few minutes, but there's no reason to push it. I'm just gonna cruise this out and get to the LZ. So I'm coming out here, and I'm really thankful that the landing aid was super open today. So we see it, it's that white and red diamond shape. There's the bar, and then when the bar gets in between those two diamonds, that means it's time to come in on final approach, turn around and land. So I'm just looking over my right shoulder there, see it, finally it's in between the two, and then start coming in, pulling in. And so I'm really thinking about everything I want to do good on this landing, getting my hands high on the flare, keeping my hands in this position they're in currently for the actual flare itself. I'm really happy with this approach. There's a little bit of a headwind, which is ideal. Not a crazy good headwind though. And so coming in, waiting for the round out, really, really good landing.
Oh, dude, that was the smoothest landing I've ever had. Let's go. Let's go.
So absolutely pumped with that landing. I would say personally, in my opinion, the smoothest landing I've ever had. Part of it was a nice, gentle headwind, but also I think my thoughts about what I should be doing for landing are finally coming to fruition, and it's really nice to see that. I think the biggest factor that played into this landing being extremely smooth was just great timing on the round out. I really gave it, you know, the full rest, getting really close to that mushy stall speed before I started to push. And when I pushed, I committed to it, had my hands higher. And I think that's the biggest thing I'm taking away from this flight is just really, on this flat landing field like this, just really waiting for that nice, easy, slow, mushy round out before flaring is just, it's the way to do it. Didn't have, you know, a drop worry, wasn't worried about my feet hitting the ground, just kind of locked it in. And so I'm happy to say I remembered to measure my length on this one, and so I will be getting new hang loops. It will look much more legit, hopefully on the next flight. Here's some bonus video of all the paragliders flying around after I landed. I was like, dang, maybe I should have stayed in the air, but no, it was a great flight. Thanks for enjoying it with me. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you around. Thanks.